Premeditated murder. Well, our correspondent Barbara Pletusher is in Minneapolis for us tonight. Barbara.
Rita, we've been attending a peaceful protest. It just wound up. It was sort of a moment of Sunday calm in what's been a very turbulent weekend. The National Guard troops were deployed, but they held back or stood back in this case. But over the past 24 hours, security forces have been showing more aggressive tactics in dealing with the protesters. I just want to warn you that there are some distressing images now in the report you're about to see.
Another night of chaos and unrest as anger over police killings spread to every corner of the country. Penetrating the heart of political power in Washington, D.C., security agents used tear gas to push protesters away from the White House. New York's iconic streets were littered with the debris of rage over the death of George Floyd, but also giving vent to years of festering frustration with police mistreatment of African Americans. Here and in more than a dozen other cities, protesters and looters ignored curfews. Security forces rounded them up, fighting to restore order. Nearly a third of the arrests took place in Los Angeles. In Minneapolis, the National Guard moved with military precision to clear demonstrators away from a police station, firing tear gas and rubber bullets, setting up roadblocks throughout the city, shutting down movement. Security forces have been aggressively pushing back the protesters. They came determined to make sure that this night would be different than the others, to retake the streets. We've seen a real show of force here tonight.
I cannot breathe.
The protests began here after this video went viral. The police officer pressed his knee into the neck of George Floyd and kept it there for more than 8 minutes. He's been charged with third-degree murder. Most here don't support the violence in the demonstrations, but some say without it, their voices aren't heard.
We've been silent for too long. We've been peaceful. How many peaceful protests do we have to have until it gets right? So, yes, I feel like it needed to happen.
There's a point of being policed where we just reach our wits' end, and this is our wits' end.
This is a war, and they're not just stepping back and allowing us to win.
They see this as a pivotal moment in a long struggle for racial justice. But the country is walking a dangerous line between protest and anarchy, confrontation and aggression, battering the space to find answers to the unrest. The Trump administration has called violence at protests domestic terrorism and denied systemic racism in the police force.
There are some bad cops that are racist, and there are cops that are, maybe don't have the right training, and there's some that are just bad cops, and they need to be rooted out because there's a few bad apples that are giving law enforcement a terrible name.
This afternoon, large numbers of National Guard troops deployed to protect the Capitol building in St. Paul, Minnesota.
No justice, no peace.
The protest was peaceful, as so many have been. But not in Philadelphia. The country is entering its second week of social disorder, one of the most turbulent periods it's seen in decades.
And of course, it's just not this explosion of simmering tensions over racial justice. It's also a time of disease because of the COVID pandemic and of unprecedented unemployment. And it's a presidential election year. So turbulent times indeed. A lot is at stake, Rita.
Barbara, thank you very much. That's Barbara Pletusher there.